Welcome to the Generation Kids Daily Devo podcast, where we move from wonder to worship, looking for God at work in the world around us, ready to ask the tough questions and discover what His Word has to say to us. Today's episode is titled Daddy Kong, and it comes from me, Casey Taylor. As we wrap up our first semester of the Daily Devo podcast this week, we will hit not one, but two fruits of the Spirit as we look towards what we hope will be an incredible summer for you and your family. But don't worry, we'll still be doing episodes throughout the summer, but we'll switch to one a week as we begin focusing on our next big project that will arrive in the fall of 2025.
What is it?
We have a few other things in store over the summer, but we'll get into those later.
All right.
As I mentioned, we still have two of our fruits of the Spirit left to cover. And this week's is one we could all use a little more of, the fruit of gentleness. Gentleness is something that doesn't get a lot of airtime in the world that we live in, where hot takes, strong opinions, and in your face seems to get people's attention. Gentleness is like a warm blanket when you're cold, a careful encouragement, rather than a harsh critique. And gentleness is this week's first fruit of the Spirit. I've mentioned before that I have kids, 3 to be exact, and they are my world. I love them, and I love them big. In fact, sometimes I love them so much that I try to show them more than they can stand. But it's hard to truly get across the feelings that a parent can have for their kids. So we hug, and we kiss, and annoy our kids with expressions of affection. And because our kids don't have kids of their own, they don't always get it or welcome all the affection that we as parents show.
Back off.
But sometimes I just push through anyways, and I give my older cool guy sons kiss attacks. I just want them to know that I love them so much, even if I have to remind them in annoying ways. My daughter, however, is always up for snuggles and hugs. She might be even more into hugs and snugs than even I am. I guess she takes after her daddy. But there are times when I'm tickling my daughter or wrestling with my sons where I forget my own size and strength, and I accidentally hurt one of my kids. And I'm reminded of their small but ever-growing frames in comparison to my own.
Big man thing, run it up like.
Thinking about this reminded me of one of my youngest son's favorite movies. He loves King Kong and Godzilla. And one of the movies that we watched together showed King Kong talking to a younger girl. And at one point, he actually picked her up in his hand. Now imagine how frail a human body would be to a gorilla whose fingers were longer than a human body is tall. He would have to be so thoughtful about the amount of pressure that he was applying to hold that small, tiny human in his large gorilla hand. There's almost no margin for error. If he tensed up even a little bit with that girl in his palm, he could crush her and barely feel it. This is a great illustration for how important the fruit of the Spirit known as gentleness is.
A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Proverbs 15:1.
When we interact with others, we don't often realize the weight and power of our words. Just like I didn't always consider my size when roughhousing with my kids. And when we aren't careful with our interactions with others, we can crush them with words that barely take any effort to release. Whether it's in the tone we use or the volume, we can do great damage with little effort, like King Kong could do to a little human body in his palm while swinging around from tree to tree. Gentleness is about thoughtful and measured responses. When the Spirit is at work within us, we think before we speak because we know the power in our words. It's about noticing how we're handling one another so that we don't accidentally injure each other. The world around you today is about shocking headlines and grabbing your attention, and the effect on people's feelings isn't thought of enough. As a parent, you learn that the way you speak to your kids, from your tone, your volume, or the very words that you say, can crush your kids, even if you don't mean to. I'm an expressive talker, and someone who grew up pretty sarcastic, and if I'm not careful, a thoughtless comment or a reactionary response can really hurt my children's feelings. But when the Spirit is in control and reminding me of the fragility of my kids' feelings as we have difficult conversations, I can say even hard things to hear in a way that shows care and love. And that's what gentleness is. It's a reserved strength. It's King Kong being mindful of his strength as he carries the little girl. It's me watching my tone and my words. It's you and me knowing that our words and actions carry more weight than the effort it took to deliver them, and being willing to be thoughtful and to consider how the other person will receive our words or our actions. Strength, uncontrolled, is at the heart of destruction, but strength, under control, is at the heart of gentleness.
Now it's time for
Today's big question!
Today's big question is, how does your body feel? And how does your heart feel when someone communicates to you with gentleness? How differently does it feel inside than when someone is more reactive and harsh? We tend to receive things, even hard to hear things, so much differently when they're delivered with a little gentleness. Thanks for listening to the Generation Kids Daily Devo podcast. If you want to keep in touch with us on all our social media platforms, check out the links in the description. And if you'd like to help support us as we continue to create meaningful content for kids of all generations, please subscribe to our Patreon by visiting us at patreon.com/wearegenerationkids.